These are verse number 5 and 6 from chapter 33, Surah Al-Ahzab. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ma ja'ala Allahu li rajulin min qalbayni fi jawfihi wa ma ja'ala azwajakum allati tuzahiruna minhunna ummahatikum wa ma ja'ala adiyaakum abnaakum zalikum qawlukum bi afwahikum wallahu yaqulu al-haqqa wa huwa yahdi as-sabil. ادعوهم لآبائهم هو أقسط عند الله فإن لم تعلموا آباءهم فإخوانكم في الدين ومواليكم وليس عليكم جناح فيما أخطأتم به ولكن ما تعمدت قلوبكم وكان الله غفورا رحيما.
La traduction de ces versets qui sont les versets. Oh, I'm sorry.
From English speaking.
Yeah. The translation is, Allah has not made for any man two hearts in his breast, nor does he turn your wives into your mothers merely because you address them as your mothers and thereby abstain from maintaining conjugal relations, nor does he turn those whom you adopt into your real sons. That is merely a word of your mouths, but Allah speaks the truth and He guides to the right path. Call them by the names of their fathers. That is more equitable in the sight of Allah. But if you know not their fathers, then they are your brothers in faith and your friends. And there is no blame on you for any unintentional mistake which you committed, saving that which your hearts willfully pursued, and Allah is most forgiving, merciful.
Sorry, Hazur. I was distracted a little bit here. Could Hazur explain the adoption of children in Islam and calling women mothers?
You see, this was a custom which prevailed during the time of Muhammad, that people to, instead of going through the regular course of divorce, when angry with their wives, would call them their mothers, which meant that if they go to them in bed, it would be like going to their mothers. So it was considered a heinous crime, and practically a divorce was effected without paying the due rights of divorce, etc. to the wife. So Islam condemns it on the one hand and explains the position of such men. It says, just by calling them mothers by your mouths is a stupid, foolish thing to do. They do not become your mothers. They still remain your wives. So to go to them is not like going to your mothers. So two things are done at the same time. The practice is totally condemned, and the consequences of such stupid expressions which wives suffer from are removed. So this is the beauty of Islam, how it treats such difficult problems. And the second part I'll speak later on. The second part is regarding you're calling someone your sons. You may call someone your son out of love, but the blood relation will not change. He will remain to be the son of his father. So even if you adopt someone, you should remember that if his father is known, then he should be called according to his true parenthood. Many Ahmadis have this problem that they are issueless. When they adopt somebody, I tell them, you can adopt a son, but he will not become your son. Out of love, you can call him son, like you call anybody a son. It is a habit of old men to address others as son. Oh, my son. But it doesn't mean that the true blood relationship is changed. So that is one thing which one should remember, that this means that even in law of inheritance, the so-called sons will have no right to inherit a person who is not their father. So I have put my foot down to it and explained it to many such cases where the adopted sons tried to capture the whole property of their fathers while they were not their fathers, and their mothers while they were not their mothers. So they also took legal measures to hand over the property to them, to bequeath the property to them. When such measures were brought to my notice, I gave the verdict that if during their lifetime they actually gifted their property to someone, it doesn't mean that they did it because of blood relationship. So that is a separate thing altogether. But after their death, whatever property is left will not be inherited by their so-called sons. If other relatives who inherit the property out of regard for your sentiments hand over their share to the so-called son, it's all right. But legally, the so-called son cannot demand anything by way of his right to inherit. You understand? And what else did you want? Enough? That's right, yes. Another part of the verses mentioned by Aisha as yet remains unanswered. Although she did not inquire the question herself, but I know this is a very important matter which we must bring to the notice of people who adopt others. It's an amazing thing that the Holy Quran mentions a situation which was not normally prevalent in those days. It speaks of a situation which has become a real problem of today. That is, children born illegitimately are most often adopted by others through institutions, through hospitals, etc., etc. And moreover, some children are abandoned by their parents themselves. So the question of legitimacy does not come into account. But most of the cases of adoption which take place these days are such cases where parenthood is not known. Amazingly, the Holy Quran mentions this, which was to be the problem of the future as in relation to the time of the Holy Quran. That if the parenthood of such children is not known, then you do not have to call them as children of anybody. Just do not mention the name of their parents. But they are like your brothers and sisters in Islam. So that shows that the so-called horrors of illegitimacy are not recognized by Allah, because children are born innocent. So they are raised in this status by telling the Muslims, you may adopt them, no problem. And they will have the equal rights of all, like all other Muslims in the society. They should be treated like your brothers and sisters. So this laws of inheritance apply to them exactly as I have mentioned before.